This is a quick video on how to adjust the trays and begin the Minuteman hose load. So here's a video demonstrating how to access the tray in order to make adjustments. So this is a Phillips number 3. It's a large Phillips. The first thing you want to do is get your hose out of the trays and disconnect your whips. After that, you're looking for 4 Phillips head bolts. They're in each corner. So here's one. It's a longer Phillips head, so don't mix it up with the others as we get it. There's 2. And as we go to the other side of the apparatus, going over here to the driver's side, you'll find the other 2 bolts. There's number 3, and here is number 4. So those 4 bolts are removed. That allows the entire tray to lift out of the hose bed. And I got all 4 of these long bolts, these stainless steel Phillips head bolts out of there. And all I do is I lift the fin, I pull the tray, it rolls out right on top of the hose roller. And what it's going to do is it's going to expose the connection points on the fins. There's 2 short screws. They're stainless steel Phillips number 2 that attach to the bottom plates. And you can see the screws coming through here on the bottom plate. There's only 2 per plate. There's not 4. There's 4 holes, but you only need to connect 2 of those because it's an offset system, meaning you can see that this guide here is offset from this guide, so you have a total amount of play left and right if necessary, but only 2 need to connect. So in this case, I have 1 here and 1 here, and I'll replace those. And here we are, we're looking at the empty Crosslay tray. One of the things that we observe is the location of those 4 bolts. Here's 1, here's 2. Don't lose those clips on the back side of that. That would be the receptor of that. But we got to pay attention to these rails here. These are the rails that brace this system and hold up the Crosslay pipes. When we're talking about what does that mean, well, you can see on this older training apparatus here, you can see that pale line where that rail went, and then it comes across. You see that. Well, when we moved these bolts, what we didn't realize is that bolt is long. You can see it protruding here. If that bolt makes contact with where that rail used to be, it's going to stand up and it'll rock this, and you want to avoid that. So just be conscious of where you're putting your bolts to avoid the contact with that rail. It'll make it seem like the tray doesn't want to fit in there correctly. Okay, so here we are. The tray is out. If you look at the bottom of this tape measure, that would be towards the rear of the apparatus. If you look towards the top, that would be to the front of the apparatus, and you can see we're about 19.5 inches tray. Once we insert this into the rig, we're going to gain about a 1/2 inch on each side because of the way the tray sits. Now, just to show you where the plates lie, the plates are going to lie somewhere in the 5.5 up to just shy of 9 inches, and then we're at 10 3/4 inches up to 14.5 inches on those plates. So you can see that, that distance, and that distance, and those would be the distances that we showed you earlier for the Crosslay tray. So what we have here is a ruler on our Crosslay tray to provide a spot for a 200-foot Minuteman, 150-foot single stack Minuteman, and another 200-foot double stack Minuteman. Total Crosslay length is about 19 3/4 inch, give or take. Each one of the trays for the 200-footer is just shy of 7 inches or 6 3/4. Allows for that hose to be pulled out. And then on the Minuteman tray in the middle, the Minuteman tray in the middle, you're looking at 5 1/4 inches to allow that bail to slip through either way if you decide to make it bi-directional. And then here we are again, it's a 7 1/4 inches there. So that's how we've got it set up, and it's been working out really good. Firefighter trying to get to put the hose on their shoulder from this tray is going to run into the hardware over on this side. It creates a steep angle, so the firefighter won't be able to get their bottle and their body in there. By giving them an extra 18 inches or so, they can get this nozzle on their shoulder and still have room from their shoulder to their head and their BA to get into this area, avoiding this. This will be around waist level for a lot of people, thigh level for the taller people, and it still allows you to get over the top of the 4-inch, get your elbow underneath the hose and deploy it. So that's the reason why we do a 200 facing the captain side and number 3. So here we are on the driver's side now. And the reason why we're making the suggestion to put the Crosslay number 1 pointed towards the driver's side is because you can see that the distance that we give the firefighter between here and the wall over here is great enough to where a firefighter can easily get their shoulder in there and not get in the way of the driver trying to put their wheel chocks down. The closer we get to the rear, let's say if we were to make the suggestion to put the Minuteman nozzle here, we're gonna close the distance between here and here, making it more difficult for the firefighter to get their shoulder and BA underneath the hose. So our recommendation is to put Crosslay number 1 pointed towards the driver's side and give the firefighter more room to operate and staying out of the way of the engineer throwing the wheel chocks. So our Crosslays have a pivoting discharge. The idea here is that we pivot the discharge towards the side the nozzle's coming out of. I want to push that away. When I push it away, it gives me a gap that the nozzle can sit in when it's sitting in the Minuteman configuration. If that swivel is this direction, the nozzle will actually hit it. So the solution that we found that works best is just push the hose away, pull a little bit of that slack while keeping that swivel away. It gives us a nice little ramp, a bumper to keep the nozzle off the metal. And then when we load our Minuteman, we can have that nozzle sit just like that. So this video demonstrates how we can still have the hose bed covered using the Velcro. When a firefighter pulls the Velcro down and lifts the flap, the bumper of the attack nozzle is sitting right here. It's actually resting on the hose behind it. That's the whip, and not making contact with the metal. That's the idea of making the whip sit underneath the hose. It protects the nozzle and the hardware by placing that right there dead center, and then that way the next hose that comes out doesn't get caught on this metal lip on the inside here. So here we have a 10-foot whip attached to Crosslay number 3. The discharge port is pointed towards the engineer side. I just keep it pointed that direction. I lay a little bit of hose onto the metal, act as a ramp. The other end is just sitting on the engineer side. What does that look like? That hose is just hanging. It comes to about the intake side of the pump and just hangs there while we load the Minuteman on top.